showcase here for you folks, one in which we will be exploring what I consider to be one of the more prettier parts of the dimension. I'm obviously taking a elegant tact with this one, but of course, me being me, it couldn't just be that. So, we're going for elegance, but with an edge. Hence these wings coming in. And now we're moving into the line work, putting in some more definition for what's going on here with our lovely young lady. Again, back to the whole thing about elegance with an edge. I actually went through a bunch of different thought processes with this. Thought processes, plural process with this. And just in terms of like what it was I wanted as a visual, what I was going for. I knew it was going to be a female. I knew she was going to have some sort of mystical fantasy kind of element going on. But past that, it was like, okay, where am I going to go with that? So, in my mind, I actually did a lot of the, I guess you could say, like heavy lifting. And this is interesting because I said I needed to do a video where I spoke more about process. And while, again, reminding people this isn't necessarily a tutorial channel, there still is going to be insight, how to's, and whatnot. And within that insight, we discover just how broad the creative process really is. It extends well beyond just taking a pencil or some paint and filling a canvas. There's this theory at play behind it all, and it subtly informs your choices and decisions. Where am I going with all this? Most of the channels that I watch, speaking about art channels, a lot of the artists, they tend to show their trial and error work on screen. I mean, you've seen me do it every now and again. I'll tweak something here, transform something there, but that's not really me. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy watching other artists find a way to unravel some knotted visual or figure their way out of some design riddle. But for me, it's a little different. Artists are visual thinkers, right? Okay, well, as an artist, I think visually. And in that regard, I actually tend to lean into that part of it pretty heavy, meaning that I do a lot of the heavy lifting in my head before I even lay the first stroke on a pad, the tablet, whatever. That's just how I work. For instance, let's take our subject here. These wings, it's a pretty straightforward deal, right? But that's not how it was going in my head. There was a whole lot of permutations, more designy or whatnot, that was going on inside of my brain before I even actually started sketching what would ultimately become the scene that I'm putting together right now. One of the things that I found myself was bandying back and forth between two ultimate designs. Mind you, this was all stuff that had started in my head and then graduated here. You're not seeing it all, but trust me, it was there. And it was there and it was feathery. It was feathers or whatnot. And then I just stopped and I thought to myself, And it didn't look right to me in terms of continuing with the visual that's going on here. So I opted to go from fancy feathery to smooth leathery. As we putting in the dark eyes, because of course there's a little bit of an inhuman aspect to our lovely young lady. And so yeah, that's pretty much how that aspect goes in terms of me with the visual thought process and how it lends in or blends into the actual process of doing the art itself. I think what it really comes down to is balance. That's what I need to be getting at. It's balance. And there's a point at which you need to be able to separate yourself from what it is you're doing. Sometimes when I get into the rough figuring out stage, we're putting in these flats or whatnot, I find that, at least for me, I don't know if this happens to anyone else, I can get into what I consider to be almost a design groove. Let's say I'm working on some arms or whatnot, and like there's some going to be some hydraulics in the arms. I could find myself getting caught up in constantly rendering just the hydraulics, taking a variation on theme and making a variation on theme with a variation on theme. It gets too specific. I've gotten too into the design itself. Got to pull myself out. Again, I don't know if this happens to other people. If it doesn't happen to you, man, you're lucky. As I'm putting in this moon right now, and we're starting to get to our shading or whatnot. But again, just to close out that thread, I find that there's a balance there. So I work from that balance. the mind does as much lifting or as much work as the hand. That may not have landed as intended. Either way, I said I wanted to speak more process in this video, and I feel mission accomplished, even if it was mainly theory. So with all that said, let's turn our attention to the subject matter itself. I think it's clear that our vixen here is something of a night owl, and I can identify. It's kind of like the situation where she doesn't really come to life until the sun goes down. I guess in a way that would kind of make her something of a vampire, but I don't really get vampiric vibes from this image. Your mileage may vary. And as the observer, I give license to those interpretations. But since you're actually hearing the artist themselves speaking on the thought process behind all of this, yeah, I'm not really seeing the blood, give me your blood kind of thing going on. I guess maybe I'm seeing more of a pixie or fairy kind of vibe going on, maybe forest spirit or whatnot. And one a high rank at that. Just looking at the attire, she strikes me as the kind of individual who dresses like this on a regular basis, not just when she's going out to a gala. That elegance, but with an edge. Now, if the title of the video is still throwing you, considering this big moon that I just dropped in the background, that's understandable. But this is an opportunity for you to let your mind explore and your thoughts do the heavy lifting. See what I did there? Either way, I'll leave it up to you brave explorers to decide who's the true Midnight Luna. Hope you all had fun. And if so, please check those socials, ArtStation, Instagram, like, subscribe, share, tap a bell, tell a friend, do those thumb buttons, all that kind of stuff. Either way, I'll see you night owls later. Till next time.